Hello again, people. This is BIGBMH's take on Batman Part 3. In this video, I'm going to be talking about which villains I think would work best with the plot of Batman 3. Some villains you can eliminate from consideration pretty easily. This series has been grounded in realism from the beginning, so villains like Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy, Clayface, Man-Bat, or Killer Croc probably wouldn't fit in with the tone that's already been established. I would have to say that when it comes to this movie, I'm pretty anti-Catwoman. It's not because I have anything against the character, but she just seems wrong for this point in the story. Bruce has just lost someone he loves, so it wouldn't seem right for him to just fall for a burglar in a catsuit so soon afterward. Anyway, I'm not a big fan of the whole James Bondish concept of having one love interest in one movie, and then in the next movie having a new love interest with little to no mention of what happened in between. Also, I really don't feel that it's necessary to force a love plot in every movie. This movie really doesn't need a love plot for the story of what is going on in Bruce's life. Anyway, even with Catwoman, I don't think that she can carry a movie by herself. She's not really dangerous, and she's not really evil, so you need somebody bigger to be the main threat of the movie. And when it comes to Catwoman, I feel that to tell the story of Bruce and Selina's relationship properly, you'd need multiple movies, and this is going to be the last movie of this series. So, I really think that you should save Catwoman for maybe another trilogy. I'll probably have more on that later. My top pick for the main villain of this movie would have to be the Riddler. He's a very classic villain and would be a good follow-up to the Joker. To present a contrast to the wild insanity of the Joker, I would portray the Riddler as more calm and collected, while still a bit deranged. He has to seem very smart, so he doesn't appear to be just a loser with a riddle gimmick. During the course of the movie, I'd have the Riddler figure out who Batman is, and then try to play a game with him. You want to test him and push him to his limits by some kind of psychological challenges. I think this would work well with the idea I have of putting Batman in a state of despair.
My choice to play the Riddler in this movie would be Wentworth Miller, best known for his role as Michael Scofield on the TV series Prison Break. As Michael Scofield, he really portrayed the kind of intelligence that I'd like to see in the Riddler. This is a picture I made in Photoshop of Wentworth Miller as the Riddler.
While the Riddler would make a good villain, he really wouldn't be much of a physical presence throughout the movie. The Joker wasn't very concerned about whether he lived or died. The Riddler, while he's crazy, he still wants to stay safely out of danger. It might be a good idea to bring in a second villain who's not afraid to get right in Batman's face. We really haven't seen Batman go one-on-one with anybody throughout this series, so it could be really cool to put Batman's fighting skill on display against a formidable opponent. Fighter or not, there are lots of potential choices for a second, more action-oriented villain.
Bane can definitely go one-on-one against Batman. The trouble is, it's hard to determine to what degree to do Bane's strength. In the comic books, Bane is ridiculously strong due to the super steroid venom. In order to keep things realistic, Bane could not be bigger than a bodybuilder. If his strength is around the upper limits of what is humanly possible, his muscles would have to be huge, decreasing mobility and making fight scenes less interesting. It's a careful balancing act. The best way to do it would be to make him a skillful fighter who is stronger than Batman, but not too bulky. Hush is also a decent option. His past ties in with Bruce's, and his story presents an interesting contrast to Bruce's own. Our problem with putting Hush into this movie series is that in his story it implies that he's Bruce's closest childhood friend before the death of his parents. That position is already occupied by Rachel Dawes in the continuity of the movies. Going back to Bruce's childhood would mean recasting young Bruce and adding an element to Bruce's childhood which wasn't there before. It's not like recasting would be such a big deal, but when movies go back and add details to previously told parts of the story, the new details feel like they've just been forced in instead of a natural part of the story. I'm not too sure about Hush, but he definitely has potential. Two other villains who are pretty popular, but I honestly don't know that much about, are Black Mask and Deadshot. Black Mask is a crime boss, while Deadshot is an expert marksman and assassin.
Another possibility is to take a page from the Iron Man 2 playbook and combine elements from two different villains. The version of the character Whiplash that's portrayed in Iron Man 2 appears to be a combination of the characters Whiplash and Crimson Dynamo from the comics. I think you could possibly combine elements from Bane and Deadshot because they're both assassins, or you could combine elements from Hush and Black Mask because they both have similar backstories. Well, that's it for this video. Please check out my full written version. I've posted a link to the left, and keep an eye out for my next video in which I'll discuss more of Bruce's personal story. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time.